Hello, my lovely ladies. Welcome to the space where beauty has no age and confidence only deepens with time. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at a woman over 60 with stunning hair and wondered, what's her secret? It's not luck, and it's not expensive salon treatments either. These women have simply learned what not to do. You see, after 60, our hair tells a different story. It gets finer, a little drier, maybe grayer or thinner than before. But that doesn't mean it can't still be breathtaking. In fact, it absolutely can, with the right care and a loving mindset. Today, I want to share with you something special. 7 habits that women with beautiful, healthy hair after 60 never do. They're simple. They're powerful. And they might just change the way you care for your hair from this day forward. So if you're ready to fall in love with your hair again, not as it once was, but as it is now, stay with me, because what we'll uncover together may surprise you in the most beautiful way. First, they never brush wet hair. Let me tell you something surprising. The most common habit that silently ruins hair after 60? Brushing it while it's still soaking wet. It sounds harmless. You step out of the shower, towel dry your hair, grab your brush, and start detangling. It's something most of us have done for years. But for women with truly beautiful hair after 60, this is a habit they've left behind. Why? Because wet hair is at its weakest. The hair shaft swells with water and becomes vulnerable, like a delicate thread soaked in rain. And when you pull a brush through it, especially with force, you're stretching it beyond its limit. The result? Split ends, breakage, and over time, thinning. Women who protect their hair know this truth. They wait. They gently pat their hair dry, never rub. They let it air dry until it's about 70 to 80% dry. And then, and only then, do they reach for a wide-tooth comb or a soft brush. Always starting from the ends, working upward with care. This one change in your routine may seem small, but over weeks and months, it protects the very structure of each strand. And for mature hair, that kind of tenderness makes all the difference. Think about it. How many times have you brushed your wet hair out of habit, never realizing the damage? Now imagine treating your hair like a silk scarf, something fragile, precious, and worth the patience. This is the first thing women with beautiful silver strands never do. They don't rush. They don't tug. And they certainly don't attack their hair when it's most vulnerable. Instead, they move with intention, with softness, with love. And the reward? Hair that flows freely. That shines in the light, that reminds them, and everyone around them, that grace can be seen in every strand, ready for the next quiet mistake they avoid. Because the second one hides in your daily routine, and it might be something you're doing without even thinking. Let's move on. Second, they never wash their hair with hot water. Now let's talk about something that feels comforting, but secretly harms your hair every single time. Hot water. It's soothing, yes. A warm shower feels like a gentle escape from the world. But for your scalp and your hair, especially after 60, that heat can be quietly destructive. Women with radiant, healthy hair in their 60s and beyond, they never wash their hair with hot water. And here's why. Your scalp is covered in natural oils that protect each hair strand. These oils keep your hair soft, moisturized, and flexible. But hot water? It strips those oils away in seconds, leaving your hair dry, brittle, and more likely to frizz or break. You might think hotter water gets your hair cleaner, but what it really does is weaken the cuticle, the outer layer of your hair. And when that cuticle lifts or breaks down, your hair becomes vulnerable to everything: pollution, styling tools, sun damage, even combing. The result? Hair that looks dull and feels rough, hair that doesn't bounce or shine like it used to. Women who've learned to care for aging hair make one smart shift. They lower the water temperature. Not cold, not icy. Just comfortably warm, enough to cleanse, without shocking your strands. Some even finish their rinse with slightly cooler water. Why? Because it helps the cuticle lay flat again, sealing in moisture and boosting shine. It's like giving your hair a final, refreshing hug. This tiny adjustment takes no extra time. It costs nothing. But the payoff is long-term protection and softness you can feel. So the next time you turn on the tap, ask yourself, is this water gentle enough for something as delicate as my hair? Because treating your hair with warmth, not heat, is the second unspoken rule of beautiful hair after 60. And once you make this change, you may start to notice your hair feels less dry, less frizzy, more cooperative, more alive. Now let's move on to something even more tempting, but just as risky. Because the third habit women with gorgeous hair never fall into has everything to do with what we put on our hair and how often we do it. Ready for the truth? Let's go deeper. Third, they never overuse hair dyes or harsh chemical treatments. Let's be honest. Coloring, perming, straightening, we've all done it. At some point, those treatments made us feel fresh, youthful, even bold. But over time, the price of that beauty becomes clear. Because here's the truth. Women over 60 with naturally beautiful, healthy hair rarely, if ever, rely on harsh chemicals. Why? Because chemical treatments break down the very structure of the hair. Ammonia, peroxide, relaxers, they lift the cuticle, strip pigment, and leave strands weaker with every use. The older we get, the thinner and more fragile our hair becomes. And harsh dyes or treatments only accelerate that damage. You may not notice it immediately, but over time, your hair starts feeling like straw. It loses shine, strength, and bounce. And worst of all, it begins to thin. Women with stunning silver, salt and pepper, or naturally colored hair know a better way. They embrace gentler options. They go longer between colorings, or they switch to natural, semi-permanent tints that fade gracefully without destroying their hair. Some choose to stop coloring altogether, not out of laziness, but out of liberation. They wear their silver like a crown. And guess what? It's beautiful. Not for their age, just beautiful. Because confidence shines brighter than any bottle of dye. Others use nourishing masks and toners instead of bleach, or turn to soft highlights that blend rather than cover. They've learned that healthy hair is better than perfect color, that softness, thickness, and natural glow beat overprocessed, lifeless strands every single time. So, if you're finding yourself in that endless cycle of dye, damage, and disguise, pause. Ask yourself, am I trying to erase age, or am I ready to honor it, gracefully, powerfully, and on my own terms? Because the women whose hair stops you in your tracks, they're not fighting age, they're flowing with it. And that energy, that quiet, confident beauty, is unforgettable. Now, what if I told you that the next habit they avoid doesn't involve hair products at all? In fact, it begins right at the dinner table. Let's move into the fourth thing they never neglect, and why it has everything to do with what you eat. Fourth, they never neglect hair-healthy nutrition. You've probably heard the phrase, you are what you eat. Well, your hair? It listens closely to every bite you take. And women over 60 with truly beautiful hair know this better than anyone. That's why they never, and I mean never, neglect the connection between what's on their plate and what's growing on their head. You might be using the best shampoo, the most luxurious oils. But if your body isn't getting the nutrients it needs, your hair won't thrive. Let's break it down. Hair is made of a protein called keratin. And as we age, our body's ability to produce strong, healthy strands slows down, unless we fuel it with the right building blocks. Women with vibrant, thick hair after 60 eat foods rich in protein from eggs, fish, nuts, and beans, omega-3 fatty acids from salmon, chia seeds, and flax seeds, iron and zinc from leafy greens, red meat, lentils, and biotin from avocados, sweet potatoes, and whole grains. They don't follow trendy diets that starve the body. They nourish it, they hydrate, they eat with intention. And they know one more thing. Sugar, alcohol, and highly processed foods, they're not just bad for the waistline. They cause inflammation, which impacts hair follicles too, Women with gorgeous hair cut down on those sneaky villains, not because they're dieting, but because they're protecting their crown from the inside out. Even hydration matters. Dry hair often reflects a dry body. So these women drink water throughout the day like it's a beauty ritual, because it is. And guess what? When your body feels cared for, it shows. Not just in your energy or your skin, but in every single strand that grows. So the next time you're preparing a meal, pause and ask, is this helping or harming my hair? Because the truth is, healthy hair begins long before the conditioner. It starts with your grocery list, with your water bottle, with the quiet daily choices that no one sees, but your hair never forgets. Now, the next habit might seem minor. Something so simple, most people don't think twice about it. But it could be the reason your hair feels thinner or weaker than it should. Let's look at what these wise women never do, especially when they tie their hair back. Fifth, they never pull their hair too tight. We've all done it. A ponytail when you're running errands, a tight bun to keep cool in summer, a clip to pull it all back while cooking or cleaning. But here's something many don't realize until it's too late. Tight hairstyles silently damage your hair over time, especially after 60. Women with full, beautiful hair in their later years know this well. That's why they avoid styles that tug at the roots. They never pull their hair too tight. Why? Because the constant tension, whether from elastics, clips, or pins, weakens the follicle. It's called traction alopecia, a type of hair loss caused entirely by pulling, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's slow, gradual, so subtle you may not even notice, until your hairline begins to thin, until you see patches where hair used to grow freely. But the women who protect their hair, they've made peace with softness. Instead of tight ponytails, they go for loose braids. Instead of thin rubber bands, they use silk scrunchies. And instead of yanking their hair back every morning, they let it flow. Natural, light, free. Even when they do tie it up, for sleep, for comfort, or for style, they keep it gentle. They don't sleep with clips or tight buns. They never wrap wet hair into knots because they understand your scalp is alive. It breathes, it feels, and it needs kindness just like the rest of you. What's more, tight styles not only damage the roots, they also cause breakage along the shaft. So the hair becomes brittle, snaps easily, and loses its shape. Women with healthy hair treat it like a silk thread, not a rope. They style with intention, not habit. And over time, their hair thanks them with strength, softness, and grace. So if you find yourself always pulling your hair back tightly, take a breath. Loosen the grip. Choose a gentler way. Because beauty isn't in how tightly you hold on. It's in how gently you let go. Now, what if I told you that even your sleep habits could be either healing your hair or quietly harming it? Let's move on to the sixth habit. Women with radiant hair never ignore, and why it happens while they sleep. Sixth, they never go to bed without protecting their hair. What if I told you one of the most important hair habits happens when you're fast asleep? That's right. Women over 60 with beautiful, healthy hair never go to bed without protecting it. And once you understand why, you'll never sleep the same way again. Let's start with this. When you sleep, your hair is in constant motion. Every toss and turn, every shift on the pillow, it causes friction. That friction leads to breakage, tangles, and dryness over time. Most pillowcases, especially cotton ones, are not your hair's friend. Cotton absorbs moisture. So while you sleep, your pillow pulls hydration right out of your strands. You wake up with dry ends, frizz, and hair that just won't cooperate. But here's what smart women do differently. They sleep on silk or satin pillowcases. These fabrics are smooth, cool, and gentle. They reduce friction, help hair retain its natural oils, and keep styles intact longer. It's a small change that makes a big difference, and it feels luxurious too. Some women even go a step further. They braid their hair loosely before bed. They avoid clips, pins, or tight buns, and if their hair is long, they wrap it in a soft scarf or sleep cap Not to look fancy, but to prevent damage. And yes, they brush it before sleeping. Not harshly, just a few gentle strokes with a soft bristle brush, to distribute oils, to calm the scalp, and to relax before rest. They've turned hair care into a nighttime ritual, a moment of self-love before sleep, because your body renews itself overnight. And when you support your hair during those hours, it grows stronger, softer, and healthier. You might be thinking, does all this really matter? But ask yourself this. How many mornings have you woken up with tangled, frizzy, or flat hair? What if those mornings could be different, just by changing what you sleep on or how you sleep with your hair? Protecting your hair at night isn't about vanity. It's about consistency. And consistency is what brings results. Now, let's talk about something even more personal. Because the next habit these graceful women avoid has nothing to do with products or styling. It has everything to do with how they see themselves and the story they tell about aging. Seventh, they never criticize their aging hair. This one might surprise you, because it's not about shampoo, it's not about haircuts or routines. It's about the words you speak to yourself when you look in the mirror. Women over 60 with beautiful, confident hair never criticize their aging hair. They don't say, ugh, my hair is so thin now, or I hate all this gray, or it just doesn't look like it used to. They've stopped comparing their reflection to old photographs. They've stopped measuring beauty by volume, length, or color. Instead, they've made peace with the changes, and in doing so, their hair begins to thrive. Because here's the truth no one talks about. Your body, including your hair, hears you. When you speak love, it softens. When you speak kindness, it responds. And when you honor it, gray, silver, sparse, or full, it begins to reflect that inner calm outward. These women choose a different voice. They look at their silver streaks and think, wisdom. They run their fingers through fine strands and think, softness. They see the lines on their face and think, a life beautifully lived. And their hair, it starts to glow with that same energy. Not because it's thicker or shinier than everyone else's, but because it's loved. They've let go of the pressure to look younger, and instead, they focus on looking alive. Radiant, grounded, free. They nourish their hair with care, yes, but they also nourish it with acceptance. Because stress, shame, and self-judgment, they're not just emotional weights. They're physical burdens that show up in your health, your sleep, and yes, even your hair. So the next time you find yourself sighing in front of the mirror, stop, breathe. And remember, beauty after 60 isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's not about fighting aging. It's about flowing with it, with grace, dignity, and a quiet kind of power. This final shift is perhaps the most transformative of all, because when you stop punishing your reflection starts to love you back. And now, in our final chapter, let's pull all of this together, because these 7 habits aren't just beauty tips. They're acts of self-respect. Let's take a moment to reflect and talk about what to do next. Let's take a deep breath together. We've just uncovered 7 quiet truths, 7 habits that women with gorgeous, glowing hair over 60 never do. And now it's time to ask the most important question. What does beautiful hair after 60 really mean? Is it thick? Long? Perfectly colored? No, it's healthy. It's cared for. And above all, it's loved. Because when you stop brushing it while it's soaking wet, when you say no to hot water and harsh chemicals, when you choose food that nourishes, styles that protect, sleep that restores, and when you finally stop criticizing the woman you see in the mirror, something magical happens. Your hair begins to soften, your confidence begins to rise, and you no longer need validation from a bottle or a stranger's opinion. You start showing up with quiet beauty, not in spite of your age, but because of it. That, my dear, is true elegance. It doesn't scream, it doesn't chase trends, it doesn't apologize. It simply shines in every soft wave, every silver strand, every gentle touch of grace. So here's what I want to leave you with. Your hair is not a problem to fix. It's a part of you to cherish. It's a record of your resilience, your femininity, your life. You've made it this far. You've laughed. You've cried. You've overcome. And you deserve to feel beautiful, exactly as you are. So if this message touched something in you today, if you're ready to let go of old habits and start honoring your hair like the crown it truly is, then I invite you, gently, to take the first step. Be kind to yourself. Make one small change this week. And watch how your hair and your heart respond. And if you found this video helpful, please consider sharing it with a friend who needs this reminder too. Someone who deserves to feel radiant in her own skin and her own hair. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Tell me, which of these habits surprised you the most? Because this isn't just a channel. It's a community of women who are done apologizing for aging and ready to glow forward together. You're not too old, you're just getting started.